everybody. Welcome to the Hashcast. This is the 12th and best episode so far, and I have two super special guests tonight. First, the man with a voice for radio and a face for Hollywood, Brennan Jones of the Easy Allies.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, pleasure to have you. And the other guy who is equally talented in voice and equally handsome, but has also made me cry at work more than my boss, Mikey Neumann.
Hello.
Thanks.
I'm here to make you cry. It's gonna happen. No,
it has happened before, but I think I'll keep it dry tonight. So thank you both for showing up to the show, and we have some cool stuff to talk about because I wanted to invite two people that I want to talk about with the things we love, and we had some pre-conversation. So what I want to talk about tonight is three things: a book, a movie, and a video game that we love. And it doesn't have to be the best thing that we ever played or watched or read, but just something that stands out for us. And I always have a lot of trouble narrowing it down to one thing, so I'll have stories galore on that as well. Let's see what you guys came up with. So I'm gonna start with movies, and of course I have to start movies with Mikey.
Yeah.
So with my list, I wanted, because love is a very vague sort of emotion.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of films, so I wanted to sort of focus my list on things that I revisit, that when I need something comfortable or to learn something or to sort of like live in an emotional space. So we are going to start sad. Whoops.
No.
I chose for my movie that I love, In America. It's a Jim Sheridan film.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Patty Considine in it. It's about a family of Irish immigrants that migrate to America after the death of their very young son, Frankie, and it's very much about how to deal with loss when you need to, because he still has two other kids. So this guy that is just consumed by grief and consumed by grief forever, he does actually need to be a dad and sort of let it go. Like, he needs to remember his son, but he needs to like function as a human again. And he, like, the movie is basically leading up to him saying goodbye to Frankie at the end, and you will cry buckets of tears.
Okay.
I have never cried more than this film.
Okay.
Like it, but I love it. Like, when you're going through grief or you need to like get some catharsis, I think it's a really good film to sort of teach you how to do that. So I love it.
Yeah, I have not seen it, so but I'll take your word for it. Who would you recommend that movie to?
Like it's so I have two grief films, I guess you could say. When I'm in that headspace and I need to sort of let stuff go, I watch In America, and when I just need catharsis, I watch John Wick. Because sometimes, well, you got to get that pain out. You need to be mad at something, and they kill his dog, and you're like, well, now it's fine. Yeah. Now kill them all. And it is cathartic in that way. And I've actually used both films for different stages of grief, which is probably something I should seek a therapy over on the John Wick one.
It is
whatever.
Therapy.
Yeah, John Wick is therapy. Like, I could use some John Wick therapy right now, to be honest.
Hashtag John Wick therapy. Be sure to hit us on Twitter.
Trending. How about you, Jones? Because you're gonna laugh when you hear my movie after that story, but that's why I'll give it to you first.
Is it Space Jam?
No, it's not.
I better laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can't pick Space Jam?
No.
Please do.
I picked something that I thought I haven't seen in America. I really I got to check that out. And this was a film because it's from Terry Gilliam, and a lot of people loved a lot of his work, and so I thought this was a movie that a lot of people would be familiar with. But many times when I bring up The Adventures of Baron Munchausen,
I'm doing a piece on that soon.
It's
part of the piece. But.
Okay, I'm glad that you've seen it. It's a very bizarre film. It's very much in the vein of like Peter Pan and the celebration of quote unquote fictional characters and what is real, what is not. I also love Yellow Submarine, just the entire concept of like, I'm going to take you on a journey and take from it whatever you want, whatever meaning that you need from it. But ultimately it does not mean anything. And it like kind of frustrated me the first time I saw it. But it's a very fanciful film. and it's just the right kind of bizarre. Like some of the other stuff that Terry Gilliam has made has actually kind of been a little too far out there for me. But as a kid, I just loved fantasy and loved make-believe and goofing around. And this is one of those movies that even so many years later, I still come back to it. I'm still like, I love that. I love those moments. It's one I think about it as a film I love because I can quote it to myself and just laugh. And I'm like, that's pathetic. I'm just by myself. Like, I'm not actually watching the movie. I'm just like recalling a funny scene. And I can appreciate the writing and the performances. John Neville and Sarah Polley, who went on to be a famous writer and director. It's like, I think one of her first movies. And Robin Williams is in it and is uncredited. He plays the King of the Moon. They travel to the moon, and he is the king. That was
also Uma Thurman's.
Uma Thurman's first roles, yeah.
Yeah.
And Sting is in it for a hot second and has a funny cameo. And
that should be true of every film.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere. You just got to find him. But it's just a very goofy film, and so I would recommend it for people that love things that are a little silly, that things are a little fanciful, that don't necessarily take themselves too seriously, but will also touch on things like, parent-child relationships, war, aging, and really just kind of the belief that we need not necessarily heroes, but we need fables. We need to pass on stories, and if a story is good, does it matter if it happened or not? Is kind of the question.
Are you, Brandon, familiar with? I think it's at the beginning of Meaning of Life, but it was one of the first things Gilliam really directed on his own. The Crimson Permanent Assurance, I believe.
Oh my goodness, no.
Oh God, it is like a short film that kicks off Meaning of Life, and it's about these like pirates that drive buildings and they like fight each other. It's the most bananas visual thing.
Isn't that Peter Jackson's next movie, where like people are just driving like cities around like on tanks?
Like
That's awesome.
It feels like one might have inspired the other, but like that's what I love about Terry Gilliam is when he just goes bananas with the visuals, and Baron Munchausen very much delivers that for sure.
I think I saw that movie when I was like a tiny baby, but
yeah.
I remember the book. I read that in school when I was a kid. And in Holland, where I'm from, we have a fairy tale theme park, like the old school fairy tales. And when you walk into the park, one of the biggest statues they have is the horse that is cut in half, and there's water coming out of the back end of the horse, and it's drinking from a trough. And that's one of the things that I remember, and him riding the cannibal, obviously. But I don't remember how it ended, because I was like 6 or 7 years old, I think, when I read the book. Probably missing all of the good stuff, but
I have done little to no research on the film as far as like the origins of the tales and such. But yeah, I appreciate the context, and that's the kind of thing that like I would imagine it does not take those stories very seriously when he was actually went forth to tell that story. Yeah. But
I'm still trying to visualize the horse that was cut in half and you drink water out of it.
Yeah,
the horse is drinking water.
Yeah, the horse drinking water. Oh. Yeah. So I think in the story he tries to get into a city and they close the gate on the horse, and he keeps riding, but the half of the horse is gone, and then he sends the horse for a drink that is at that point walking on two legs, and you see the horse drinking, just the water spouting out. It's very cartoony. But I think that's the story. Oh yeah, that's European kid stories, man. It's
yeah, that's fair.
America
just sanitizes everything.
So. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I grew up on. So my movie is going to be stupid. But my whole movie experience has changed significantly since I had a child, because all I watch now is Disney movies and cartoons and all that stuff, unless I get to go out with my friends, and then we always go to see a Marvel movie.
Oh no, is this Frozen?
No, it's not Frozen. No.
Oh my goodness.
No. Although it's
what
still
else
a good movie.
are we on for the record? Is it 136?
Yeah.
No, we're in the
173.
180s, right?
173.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have not skipped a day. And today was magnificent. Just if
You're
I can
gonna be
say
the
so
best
myself.
Elsa drawer in the whole world.
The whole world. And the funny thing is, my daughter does not give a shit. Like, she just looks at it and she's like, "Oh, that's all right." But one day, when she's 25 and she goes to the crawl space and she finds these books, she's gonna say, "Oh, Daddy really loved me." But no, it's actually Kung Fu Panda. That is just a movie that I can watch over and over again. Because I'm not sure if people notice, but I am like a black belt in Taekwondo. So nice. I trained a lot in my life, and I before I started training, I vividly remember like wanting to be like a Power Ranger or like a Ninja Turtle because they have all these skills, but all the work you have to put in is so far away. And his journey through that, I find is very interesting. And they really capture the whole martial arts aspect well. And he's not super welcome, and the good guys are not treating him super well. And the villain kind of has the same journey, except like he was the promised one, and he had all the skills and the qualities, and he didn't make it. But I just love that movie so much. It's like it has some little things in it that I really appreciate when it comes to martial arts. And the one scene where they fight over the last dumpling is one of my favorite fight scenes in any movie, like real or animated. That is so well done. I can watch that just every time. So when my daughter picks Kung Fu Panda, I'm like, oh yeah, daddy's along for the ride. But yeah, it's not in America. But
I loved it.
Yeah,
eclectic choices. Us.
Yeah, we're all over the place. So I would recommend Kung Fu Panda for anyone who's ever been on a journey to self-improvement, I guess. And then it doesn't matter in the end because it's all inside you all along. But it's fun. I'm appreciating kids' movies on another level now that I have to watch them 40, 50 times in a row. I can promise you that. So I'll go to games because I want to keep the books for last because I have one on my desk. And Brandon, I'll start with you for games. So what is the one game, and how did you get to that specific one?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever loved a game in my life more than GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64. I'm
not familiar with that one.
It was a deep cut. That game, I just devoured that game. Like I just, most games I play and really appreciate, and then like a year will go by or like a year and a half, and then I'll go back and play it again. And I just played it again and again and again and again. Like if you were to like go to my house in the 90s and like boot up my 64, there was like the 4 folders that like had the different playthroughs, and like they were all like I basically I prestiged GoldenEye like 6 times. Like I think the thing for me is the 90s were really special in video games, just in terms of like our eyes opening to like where things were going. And we have those moments now where with AI and, with HD, it's really fun. And just like graphics are always impressive, but like playing games in 3D was just a trip for the first time. And there were lots of different examples of it, Tomb Raider and Half-Life. But like for me, like actually occupying a space in first person in that game was one of the first times I really felt I was like, I'm in this environment, and like these people around me are reacting the way people normally would. There's like a schedule to how this world is playing out right now. There's like a physics to how windows and items operate, and some items when I toss will bounce off of other things, and like, and I just couldn't stop walking around and perfecting run-throughs of missions. And I mean, granted, I was not a big PC guy growing up, and so had I grown up and like played Doom like right when it came out, and like played the first Half-Life like right when it came out, I probably would not have been as impressed as I was with that on the 64. But that was just like my introduction to 3D spaces in gaming, and I would just sit and count like how many bullets I could shoot into the wall before they started to vanish. Because if you could only have so many bullets, there was like a limit on how many could be in an environment. And I remember when I discovered that, I was like really sad. I was like, there's a limit, and then like really started to understand like, well, of course, graphically, like there's only so much they can put in there, and seeing the little tricks of how environments, going back and watching the movie again and seeing how close it's compared to that. I like MMOs and things like that. I put many more hours into over time, but for the game offering as much entertainment as it did, it's downright ludicrous how much time I've put into that game.
Yeah. Did you have the same rules we had when we played multiplayer, that you couldn't choose Odd Job?
Odd Job was definitely, I don't know if it ever got so far as like a rule, but GoldenEye was definitely one of the first games where I like didn't understand legitimately that like screen peeking was like a bad thing. I was like, I would actually like practice by playing against one AI person and then like timing myself to see how fast I could react to where they respawn to. Mm-hmm. So if I see someone respawn, like how can I want to whittle that time down of me being like, oh, you're in that room, and knowing the shortest path to go through multiplayer levels. Yeah. And I played Michael Huber in GoldenEye, and he beat me, and it was one of the saddest days of my life.
Did you play GoldenEye as well, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because we had some of the same Like the decal things the same way. Like it taught me about video memory because I became a game developer not too long after that. But the way they did like culling of levels with the doors would come in and sort of gate you off from seeing too much of the like it is like a beautifully built game. It is like the most well built engine basically like of that type, like in terms of how they built everything. But I think the thing that sticks with me about GoldenEye is the alarm guys in that first level. Like the fact that a dude could go press the alarm and then more guys would come. I was like, game design. But I'd sort of like personalize them in my head. I'd let them run, and I'd just sit there with the scope on them, and I'd wait till they almost got there, and they're like, maybe I'll be okay. And like right as they're having that thought and pressing that button, then I'd shoot them, which that's a dark direction to go, Michael.
Oh man, I would shoot guys. I'd shoot them in the foot and watch them like, ow, you hit me in the foot, and I'd shoot them in the hand, like, ow, you shot me in the hand, and I'd just giggle.
Yeah, I just shot their heads off. The caps that they had in the washroom level there.
Can we
the invisibility cheat and just dropping mines right underneath dudes? Like,
Can we resync real quick because my recording just screwed up?
Sure.
So I want to make sure.
Sure.
Just real quick.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Good.
All right, and we're back. Yeah, GoldenEye. Like I had some great memories of that as well. Like it is such a defining moment. Like because it looked gorgeous back then. I remember like, wow, these faces are almost real. And when I look at it now, like no, they're not. Like what?
Yeah, I know it's really hilarious.
It's like they painted a picture or like stuck a picture on a polygon. It was super funny. But oh man, that game was something else. How about your game, Mike?
It's funny because my nephew and my sister were literally playing this yesterday, but I tried to pick a game. Again, it's like something you love, which means, much like Brandon, I think it's something that you just revisit all the time. And to me, it's like games, especially newer games, that sort of feed into nostalgia with like a modern lens in how they're constructed. Mm-hmm. Insofar that my game is Rogue Legacy, because it feels like Castlevania and it feels like Metroid, but it's also this like super modern roguelike with all these beautiful XP systems and like you build out characters, but you're also living a family's lineage. And I thought the game design of having issues like colorblindness or like sensitivity or like lack of sensitivity in your feet and all these like different things, it's I can go back to Rogue Legacy and start over like any day and I'm happy forever.
Do you have any experience? I've never got around to playing that game.
What?
I know. Must have missed the generation there.
Easy game to get obsessed with, definitely.
Oh, yeah?
It's so good. Make Rogue Legacy 2.
Make it. Hashtag make it happen. So who would you recommend it to? Like, the game?
Who would I...
Like someone who never played it, perhaps?
Well, it's... So, like, when you think about different roguelikes, they can be more or less forgiving. And I think that difficulty curve can be really difficult if you're just always starting over. Mm-hmm. But you can be anyone and love that game because you get a little further every time. And before long, you're a superhero who can do anything. And I think that's all skill levels because of the way they built that game. It's like it's a roguelike for anyone that happens to be Metroid. Like if Castlevania was a series that frustrated you because no matter how many times you play it, it's your character is always the same. Rogue Legacy adds like an incremental boop, boop. Like it makes it a little easier every time you play it. And I adore it.
All right, cool. So my pick is, like, I swear to God, I had to pick between two. And one of them, and this is not a move, Mikey, but was Borderlands 2. Because I have played that game for hundreds and hundreds of hours.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's some characters in there. But I'll let you know how obsessed I was with that game. So I maxed out every character like twice, I think, to the max level. And I did that by playing with 2 characters at the same time. Because I was one of the 5 people in the world that bought a 3D TV. And I'm not sure if you remember, but
the split screen.
The split screen. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I could overlap the screens, and then I took 2 3D glasses, cut out one lens, flipped it around, upside down, put it back in the thing. So I could wear one pair of glasses, I would see one screen, and I would switch glasses, and I would see the other screen full screen, and I could play 2 things at the same time.
That's bananas.
It is bananas. So I don't know why I did that, but I think it's called that character Matchstick, where it gives you like 50,000 XP for it, and then you fill the quest. Like I spent hours just grinding that son of a bitch until I leveled up all my characters, and then I just stopped playing because I was hoping for crossplay because my cousin had it, but he had an Xbox and I was on the PS3, and that never happened. Still doesn't happen. Sony, make it happen. But so I was like, that's probably one of the games I played hour-wise, when it's not MMO, the most. But the game that I love the most, and it's becoming a meme at this point, but the game Dragon's Dogma from Capcom is probably my favorite game of all time, and it's like a perfect 7. If you really look at it, like graphic-wise, on the PS3, it wasn't the strongest, and the opening is a little weird, but then they did the remaster recently on the PS4, and I platinumed the hell out of the game. Like, I played it 8 times in a row until I had every quest, until I had my speed runs down to like 29 minutes, because everything in the game just clicks for me. Like, the combat is so cool, and I've never cared more about my character, because it's you build your own character. So I made my little rogue, I made her Arya, because I was watching Game of Thrones, and then my pawn, I made this giant guy as the Hound. But how they interact with each other is just so cool, because your sidekick will grab like an enemy so you can stab him in the face. So at the end of this game, I had my platinum, I had everything I could do in that game, and I just, before I let it go, I walked my character to her hometown and put her like on the beach with a nice view, and then I just logged off forever until yesterday when I was very bored. I was like, I'm just gonna go see if, because your pawn, how they call it, goes into other people's worlds when you're offline. Like, people can rent your characters out, and then you get XP. So I just went in to check how he was doing. He was like super rich when I come back. But that game is just, I don't know, like if you're ready for an adventure and you can push yourself through the first 90 minutes, it's just everything you want. Like, the world is so great. You can if you stand on a mountain, you can pretty much see the entire map. Like, the draw distance is insane. Like, you can see the main city from pretty much anywhere, and everything has a place in this world. Like, it's not like Skyrim where you have like 14,000 dungeons with some cabbage in the bottom, but like everything is being used, because everyone who creates a character and a side character, they show up in your world. So they're just walking the roads, and they're living in town. And it's just so good, and that game is so underrated, because nobody played it apparently, but unless...
I remember Dragon's Dogma. I went to Eric Newstedter's house, and he was like going nuts about it. He loved it, and all I could focus on was how tragic the UI was.
Yeah.
Like, but I did grow to love it. But honest question, who's your favorite Borderlands character? I gotta know.
Like NPCs or my own characters?
No, not player characters. NPCs. Yeah.
I think what's his name? Scooter guy. What's the?
Oh, yeah. Heard of him?
Yeah, heard of him. I really like Jack as a villain until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never played Borderlands 1, so I stepped on in Borderlands 2. So I missed a lot of. But it's just the gameplay loop is so satisfying in that game. What do you think about Borderlands, Brandon? I hear you're a big fan.
Oh dear, are you gonna put me on the spot?
Just tear it apart.
Just
be like, actually, I don't. Especially the writing. Yeah. It's very.
No, I never. Yeah, exactly. I played the first Borderlands for about 4 or 5 hours solo, and then. Just whenever I stop playing a game, I rarely stop playing a game because I'm like, enough of this game. I just start playing something else, and then I never go back. And I didn't play Borderlands 2, and I didn't play Borderlands 1 co-op when I played it.
What?
And I know. That's the kind of thing where like really kicking off the 360 PS3 generation is when I really started to get heavy into games journalism. And so like if I wasn't like immediately going to absorb a franchise and somebody else had it and they were like, I'm going to be reviewing it, I'm like, cool, you got it. You know, if you don't need me to help capture or something, like I'm going to focus on other things that I'm focused on. And so, yeah, that is one that has eluded me. It's too bad they're not going to make any more of those. Yeah, it's just too bad that you know, Borderlands 3 was rumored, but I mean, if I didn't get announced at E3, that's just like, yeah, it's probably.
Yeah, when I had the 3D TV,
I'd be ready to jump in now, but
I wanted them to make Borderlands 3D so bad because I have use of my 3D TV, but no.
It sounds like you could make Borderlands 3. It sounds like you did make Borderlands 3D.
Pretty much, yeah. I ruined that game for myself though when I got like too good a gear. Then all of a sudden nothing was a challenge anymore, and just like, oh, okay, I guess I can two-shot the boss now. That's kind of too bad. It's funny how that happens when you get too good at a game.
Dragon's Dogma though has been in my backlog for a long time. It's something that I think I would love. I you know, there's nothing holding me back other than just being an idiot.
Yeah. It's a long game. Like it's one of those games that the more time you invest, the more you appreciate it. I think because the story is super weird. Until I was like, no, but listen, if you play it through 8 times, then you'll really start to, you know,
like your Automata. You know, just give it a 5th time and you're set.
Yeah, I just had the perfect end screenshot when I reached level 200. Was the last trophy I need, and you get the auto screenshot, and it's just the final boss dying at the moment. I was like, yes, I can now turn my PS4 off and never play this again. But it's a good game. It's a good game. I recommend it to anyone who likes an adventure. So books. Are you guys big readers?
I have read.
Yeah, you have read at some point.
I know words.
You know the words. Yeah.
Big is not the word I would pick. I don't know about big.
No,
but
I'm not as big as I would like. Before. But I'll start with you, Mike. If you have a book in mind.
I do, and I probably broke the rules by doing this, but
it's okay. I broke the rules too on mine, so you're good.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of books I deeply appreciate. I wanted to pick a David Sedaris book because he's an essayist and he's really clever, but then I didn't because when it really comes down to it, like, what's the book on my night table that's always there, you know? And I chose Blankets by Craig Thompson, which is a graphic novel. But the frames tell so much more than I think you could actually type out in a novel. It's really a book about relationships and like how they don't necessarily last forever, and like how we grow as people, and how growing as people, even though that makes us better, might make us drift apart, and all these like beautiful things. And as an open asexual, that can make relationships a difficult thing sometimes. So it's a thing I revisit when I kind of need to recenter myself and feel like I'm part of the world again. And it's like, it's okay. It's a book called Blankets, and I treat it very much like my own blanket. So I adore it. If you haven't seen it, just go to Amazon right now and buy it. Yeah. I promise you'll love it.
I've never read a book like that, how you describe, where you have it like close all the time, so you can just read a chapter. Like I'm very much of a read and toss kind of reader, so I wish I would had a book like that.
I bet you could find one.
Maybe. How about you, Brennan?
My book is called House of Leaves. And it is a horror book. It is kind of a pretentious book because it is told like out of order. It's kind of like a little playground of a book. Like it's not like choose your own adventure-ish, but it definitely references lots of other documents. It's a story within a story within a story. It's about a guy who just lives in the apartment of someone who wrote a book about a movie a guy made about his house who was haunted. And so you're following these 3 characters as they kind of try to make sense of this this weird house and this documentation that this guy did of this weird house at a time when it would have been very difficult to kind of doctor footage. And so you have this guy who's watching tapes of just this phenomena happen. And it's great because the thing I like about the phenomena that happens is it's very much about like home design, and there's like hiking in it because they go into like weird realms, and so there's a lot about like, because I'm a Eagle Scout, and like so I love going to the outdoors, and I love, you know, like I go run like half marathons with my wife, and so like I respect endurance. And so there's like, they're very smart about, I hate watching horror movies about stupid people, and they're very smart people approaching a very bizarre thing that is not that is kind of there on the surface, but obviously like what you're looking at can't be explained right away. And then on top of that, you have these other people years after the fact also trying to make sense of the whole thing. And it's a creepy book. It's like I would be extremely bored one moment and just kind of like, all right, reading like lists of stuff, or just kind of like a diatribe that didn't seem like it was going anywhere, and then something horrible would happen, or I would recall another moment in the book and just flip like 100 pages to get to a section, and like some parts you have to read upside down. Like one page you have to like spin the book while you're reading it because it just keeps like spinning into the center. And
it's a formatting nightmare.
It's
but a good one.
It's bizarre, and I think it's kind of challenging in an interesting way, and has inspired me in a lot of ways to do something similar, something kind of unorthodox. So you have to work at House of Leaves.
That's cool. I've never heard of that. So now I have 2 books that I have to put
it's
on
a big
my
book.
Amazon list.
We picked 2 amazing books.
Yeah.
Good job, us.
Yeah. Well, here I am again with my weirdo pick.
Kung Fu Panda 2.
No, not even. So the book I probably read the most, and I don't reread a lot of books, is World War Z, or Z as we say in Canada here. But like, there's a lot already being said about that book, so I didn't really want to pick it, although I absolutely love it, and the movie was something else. So I kind of picked a writer that everything he does I love, and it's a nonfiction. It's H.A. Jacobs, and the book I lifted is a book called The Year of Living Biblically, and the subtitle is One Man's Humble Quest to Follow the Bible as Literally as Possible. And
God!
And it's hilarious. Like, what he did is he took every rule or law that he could find in the Bible and tried to follow every rule for a year. And this guy is insane because he's done stuff like this before. And I think his first book was The Know-It-All, where he read the encyclopedia from A to Z, like the entire thing. And he has another book called The Healthiest Man Alive, or Drop Dead Healthy, where he follows like every health or diet fad in the world. But this one is more interesting, and I have it like right here, because this dude is hilarious. Like, he's a columnist for the New York Times, I think, and just the things he's going through. Like, in one of the chapters, he figured that he has to stone a man for infidelity, so he goes to the park and just listens in on conversations till he finds someone who he thinks is probably like cheating on their spouse, but he doesn't want to go to jail, so he finds like the smallest piece of pebble he can find, and he just follows the guy around for like a hot minute, and he just flicks it at him. And because then he can scratch off that rule that he stoned a man for infidelity, and there's a lot of there, and it's just so funny. It's and I'm not a religious man at all, but if you go through it, like there's a lot of jokes in there, but in the end, he kind of has a moment, and I thought it was pretty special when you follow all these things and you really delve into the whole religion thing. He does see some value there, and I think that was a good moment. But I tried reading this book like on the bus when I was commuting to work, and I had to stop because I was just laughing out loud like a maniac. But I would recommend to his whole series is just hilarious. Like, he also has My Life is an Experiment, where he just does all kinds of strange stuff, where he outsources his entire life to a call center in India. So he has people like doing his groceries online and reading stories to his children before bed. Like, he's such a... He would probably draw Elsa every day for a year or something, just because it's something he would fit. But so anyone who's ever like either struggled to finish something is probably a good book, or someone who wants to like really finish a project. Like, if this dude can do it and he is still married to his wife by the end of it, that is impressive. But there's a lot there in the Bible that I didn't know that are rules, but he follows them all. So it's just a fun read. I think I read this in an evening. It's only like 300 pages, but it's hilarious. H.A. Jacobs, highly recommend it if you just want a quick read. But you guys are like really cool books, and I'm like nonfiction. Here's my story. But I like that it's all spread out. So I just wanted to touch on the three big things when in media, because you guys are experts in your fields, movies and games. And not that I'm experts on book at all, but talking about the things we love, I wanted to kind of open it up as well, because you both managed to follow, like, I think what you loved and made it a career, and I kind of wanted to see if we can touch on that as well, and especially your story on how you get there and how you made it a living. Because Brandon, you had a pretty big week this week where you and your guys hit 50K on Patreon in a month. Like, that's huge.
Patreon can be stealthy. You never know. It can
it's
be
true.
Patreon can do a little sleight of hand, so it looks like 50K. But yeah, it's definitely things have been crazy in the last couple of months, and I think that's like the nature of crowdfunding is that you just have these different tiers that you like move up to, and then all of a sudden everything changes, and never a dull moment. But yeah, it's been we have a great community, and I'm very lucky to have them.
Because you've been doing this for 2 years, just to some spare change. Like we had this conversation, I think, at E3 last year, that most of the successful Patreons that we see is always following an event. Like you, well, not benefited from Game Traders shutting down, but that was a huge push for you. But since then, you've grown so much. Like, how does it feel to start fresh and then now, like, you're all pretty much making a living out of it? I think there's some side jobs there, but like, how does it feel to get something that you love and worked for so hard to make that your life?
It feels pretty crazy. Sometimes I gotta wonder. I love having those moments with other like pseudo gaming celebs, like journalists of fame, and like at events and stuff like that. And like we all kind of give each other the eye of like, how long are we gonna do this? like this is pretty fun, but like, are we gonna be doing this when we're I really look up to like people. When I see like a Shane Saddlefield or a Marcus Beer or Pierre Schneider or like people, I'm the eldest of my group, but I'm just going to be 40 next year. Where like there are guys, 10 years older than me, who are still going at it and still producing stuff in this space. And I think the thing to me that's so exciting, a couple of things. First of all, video games are just so rad. Like it's just such a fun, exciting business. Clearly still youthful. Clearly still like the dorky kid in the corner, while like people actually care who wins a Tony or an Oscar or a Golden Globe, where it's like whenever we have video game conferences or awards, it's just like, no, nobody cares. Like that's not going to make national news.
The video game awards and the Tonys are not that far apart. Like how many people are like, dude, you see who won the Tony last night? Name a music. Name one that is.
The Tonys probably, the Tonys are a bad example. I feel bad because I was a musical theater major when I got into college, but now I hear, I'm like, what's on Broadway? School of Rock is on Broadway? Great. But I think the thing that's been nutty about where we're at right now is ever since I started getting into the biz, started Game Trailers and then just recently started Easy Allies, we were always like on the coattails of another company. Like I was working at a company and then we were working with them, to help us, have a space where we could do stuff. And so if we were to actually like get a studio and get our own space, that would be a first in like, almost 20 years that I've been making videos and doing game related stuff. So that would be an absolute trip. So I think that's like the craziest thing about being independent is if we could actually have a space and know that not like, oh wait, we got to clean it up because Screen Junkies is going to come in and use the same stage. But it's just like, no, this is actually our little space. And right now I got to be like, okay, everybody get out because this is my house and I want to like eat potato chips and watch TV.
Yeah, fair enough. It's going to be big.
It's real.
I'm looking forward to your next steps, but hey, that's the actual Cup of Jones right there on the screen. Didn't know that. So Mikey, I remember a conversation we had like a long time ago before you went on Patreon. I was like, Mikey, how can I give you money? Like, can you please like do something? And then after a while, you actually started your Patreon. I was like, yay, now I can give Mikey money. But how did that roll out for you? Because you've been blowing up as well.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't know we were going here. All right. So, I mean, March of last year, I almost died.
Yeah.
Because my body just decided I was disabled now, and I went through a 2-month period where I could not move, really. And I was all my muscles atrophied. It was terrible. It was a really rough, like, for a guy that had a stroke like 2 years before, 3 years before that, like, give me a break, body. But I had this. It was a Sunday in late April of last year, 2017, the gas leak year. I just kind of realized, like, I couldn't do my job anymore. And Gearbox had been really patient with me when I was just not able to be at work, and I was a lead writer on a few things, and I was still doing marketing, and it was like I couldn't do it anymore. And the best thing for me was a clean break, and I was dreading that because I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, what can I do? I have this YouTube show, and it's kind of a thing, but I mean, it was like 75,000 subs at that point. Like, it wasn't all that, you know. And I started the Patreon thinking, okay, because that was that Sunday. I was like, okay, I'll see. Maybe if this gets up a little bit, I can do like game trailers and stuff on the side. Like, I was trying to build a job, and it hit like $6,000 in like 2 days, and I was like, oh, this is my life now. And it actually got a lot worse from there. Like, after I left Gearbox, let's just be honest. You know what? F it. Let's be honest. I spent a lot of time not really all that sober, and I dealt with PTSD for, God, practically a year. And the only thing I was actually good at was making the show. So those 2017 episodes are actually pretty good, and they still hold up. But it took, I think, 2018 for me and my partner Thaddeus, after some other sort of failed business experiments, to like build an actual business that can pay us enough money to like live. So I guess I'm a professional film critic now. I've never even like really thought too much about it, because I worked in games for 18 years. I started on Counter-Strike. So that's a weird chapter to like close. Yeah. Like, immediately you're done. Like, stop. You're not going to E3 anymore. You're not going to PAX anymore. Like, it I don't know. It was a struggle, and I feel like 2018's been like the year where I like figure my shit out, you know? like how do I do this? Like, what can I build this into? And we're doing some stuff. Like, we do Deep Dive. That's the show other than Movies of Mikey that is just really fun. We have people mail us bad films or films that were critically destroyed. Like Flash Gordon is the episode we just put up, where me and my friends watch Flash Gordon, and the rules are you must love it no matter what. So I'm not really a movie critic in the traditional sense, because I never really...
It's commentary. Yeah.
It is, but I'm also trying to... Because hey, whoever's listening to this podcast, here's the thing. You can go back through the 2017 videos in chronological order, and they very much... It's me telling myself to get off the ground. So it's not just the movie, it's the lessons and the symbolism and the art behind them that tells us, like, hey, here's how to make your life better, and here's how to self-improve, and here's how to sort of like build a life that you can be proud of and you can look at. So it's sort of like film therapy, I guess, would be like maybe the way, because it was I swear to God, it was the thing that kept me alive in 2017, because I had nothing else by the end of 2017. I had the inside of a closet I hid in for 4 or 5 hours a day, because the PTSD was so bad. Because when your body gets ruined, you know, like, I can't, like, there's so many things I like, just one day you can no longer do this ever again. I can't climb a tree. I can't throw a baseball. if I tried to do a cartwheel, I would break my neck. You know, like stuff that you could do, and it's like not anymore from this point on. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It was a huge thing, I think, for me to sort of carve out my own space, because I don't think I make a very good critic, like the very amazing critic Brandon, who is phenomenal. Like I don't do good when I need to like pick up a thing apart and not show you why you should love it. Mm-hmm. So I think I might stick with film therapy. That's kind of a cute way to think about it.
Yeah, because I discovered your show, Mike, and before I knew what you did in games, to be honest. Like, I discovered your channel, and then I pretty much watched every episode of Movies with Mikey in a single day. Like, back
I don't think you
back.
can even do that anymore.
No, I think there were 37 back then.
No, I think they probably add up to more than 24 hours now.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment. No.
just do it. I did just watch the ones of movies I saw, because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. And I do watch most of my movies at 1.5 speed. Also, all your Brandon, I watch all your stuff at 1.5 speed. So it's always fun.
I accidentally did that the other day, and I'm like hooked now. I was like, oh, this is the way to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was like Don's new show, Busted Trifecta. I watched like at 1.5 and was like, wait, that was actually hilarious. Like, we need to speed up all of our stuff.
Yeah. And after that, it's hard to go back. But and I still struggle with even being allowed to talk to you guys like this, because I'm brand new and fresh. And Brendan knows my story better than anyone else, I guess. But I just love what I love is watching people like yourself take what you care so deeply about and turn it into a career, because I think that is the dream for a lot of people. Because in my day-to-day job, I just have a regular job where I look over the safety of workers in Canada. I like what I do, but it's not like, oh, my passion is to go to the office every day and send emails. And it's, a big part of my job. So now I'm just starting to create content, like, briefly. And if I could do what you guys do, like, it would be fantastic. And I make a hard $31 a month on my Patreon. But I need I need that critical event. Like, maybe I need to get, like, I don't know, break my leg or something. Not for reals. But I admire that so much to see you guys work and pour so much time, love, and effort into something I get to enjoy for free most of the time. And that's why I'm so happy with a thing like Patreon. I was like, please let me buy this from you so you can live off of this. But it must be weird. Like, it comes with so much added pressure to create. So I just kind of wanted to pick your brains on that. Like, how do you turn love into, like you say, a business?
I think
I'll tell you something that I like.
Okay.
I'm going to answer this because I'm going to compliment Mikey. One thing that I like is knowing other Patreons, knowing other companies, talking with them about what they do and how much of this life is how much of their life is this taking. It's like we have some guys in our group that still have full-time editing jobs. Don and our team still works in Funhouse, and so some of us have opted to work full-time for this. And the thing that I love is, even for us, I mean, even, you have a movie focus, Mikey, and we're still, covering games, but like, I still feel kind of a kinship there. Like, I think once you make contacts and you make friends in this business, like, I almost kind of forget where people are working now, because it just doesn't matter to me. It's like, I'm not gonna like now not be friends with you because you're working for another company. And I love looking from afar at another content creator being like, wow, they're really good at what they do. I'm not going to do that. And when I work on a project, I write a script and then I voice it and then I edit it. And those are like two completely separate things. And when I watch movies with Mikey, it's like you're writing and you're voicing and you're editing at the same time. And I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how you think about editing while you're writing. Like, I can't even, like, I think there was one bit, my favorite episode is, oh my God, what's the Alien movie with Hawkeye and Amy Adams?
Arrival.
Sorry, Arrival.
The episode that made me cry at work.
You make fun of the editor. I can't remember his name. You're like, thanks, Todd. And it just like zooms in on him and you're like, I don't know why I did that. Anyway, moving on. And like those moments, it's like, where was that moment born? Was it born while you were editing? Was it born when you were recording? Did you write it? You know, it's like, and I don't want to know, you know, like to just kind of see like what seems like rambling, like what initially just kind of seems like somebody, like you're inside someone's brain and they're trying to figure it out, is clearly not, because it's edited succinctly. It's written so fast. It gets to the point so fast. Like you finish and it's like, how long was that? Like, wow, it's 13 minutes. That felt like I was a half an hour, because there's just so much information crammed into that. And just the color treatment of everything. Like it's this weird middle road between like, wow, this guy's going off, and like, wow, he clearly put hours and hours and hours into this. Everybody loves to, like, sequence, like, timeline porn. Like, everybody's always posting their premiere timelines, and like mine suck compared to like Danny O'Dwyer posts his.
Yeah, his are
the
nuts.
Scariest looking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Whereas like my reviews are like three audio channels, 3 video channels, done. It's just like 1 vocal track, maybe 2 tracks, music going back and forth, and some footage, scene. So I think it really helps. It's kind of scary going out and making, you know, doing the stuff that we do. But at the same time, when you see someone else doing something and you can learn from them, you know, tap them as a resource to like, hey, that thing was cool. How did you pull that off? Okay, I'll do something different. We can celebrate each other. It's good knowing that they're out there.
Thank you so much for saying all that. Arrival is such an interesting episode. Like, that's awesome to hear that you like that episode so much, because Moon and Arrival and Emperor's New Groove were done right when I got out of the hospital. Like, the Moon episode was edited between 7 and 10 minutes at a time, because I didn't have neck muscles, so I couldn't hold my head up, and it would hurt so bad, and I couldn't hold the mouse. Like, the Moon episode is especially bad. I can't even believe that episode exists, to be honest with you. It was 2 weeks out of the hospital, and I had to use the back of my hand on the mouse to edit it, but I'm still me, so I still, like, tortured myself to make that. But you can hear it. Like, the Arrival episode I have trouble watching because you can hear how sick I am, and how, like people are, like, in the comments, are you about to die? And I'm like, yeah, I am, actually. But it's interesting because the show started because I just watched some random movie shows on YouTube, like Good Bad Flicks and Red Letter Media, and like this sort of OG film guys that do, like, I think a little more. I mean, Red Letter Media used to get a little out there, but now they're just like, here's our shows. These are like best of the worst and whatever. They don't seem to do as much like wacky stuff, like the weird asides. But to me, what humor worked on YouTube was the wacky asides. Because like in the Arrival episode when I'm dunking on the editor, that was scripted out. Like I wrote all the with the muffled Catawampa stuff. That's generally not inaudible. I write that out. But I forgot what I was talking about. No, because it started out where I was talking about Pearl Harbor and Last Action Hero and Long Kiss. Like, I was kind of trying to stick up for dumb 90s movies, and it was when I did World's End that Edgar Wright even reached out, and he's like, dude, this is great. That kind of made me go, maybe people really do care what I have to say about, like, real movies that actually do have something to say. So I wanted to make art, I guess, was the thing. Like, funny, but also, like, meaningful art. It's about art, but it also is art. And that I think sort of kind of carved my own little space out from other video essayists and other things. It was just kind of random. Like, it just naturally sort of went that direction, I think. But I still, like, want to be goofy, and I want to be meaningful, and I want you to look at it and go, wow, that was actually super artful. Those are the goals.
Yeah. You, like, changed my mind about Interstellar, because I've seen the movie once and I didn't really like it, and then I watched your video. It's like, okay, maybe there's something there that I missed. Like, I don't know. But in general, I'm just like I'm always intimidated by you two specifically, and like the third one is Andrea Renee, because she's also such a superstar. Because I don't do anything as well as you guys do. Like I watch movies with Mike and like, holy shit, I will never hit that level of editing. And Brandon, you were just such a genius in how you put the shows together in a team and whatever. But I wanted to get a piece of this market, so I just started to do some weird stuff. And what I take as a bit of a guideline is GT Live, the show that you had. Like, I find myself, like, I'm just a dude, I'm not super interesting in myself, but having guests on is a perfect formula for me. Because apparently, and I was talking to Jake Baldino when we went to the Shadow of the Tomb Raider reveal, and he said, like, your thing is going to be that you get to, people talk to you. Like, you get people to share stories and talk. So you're like the bartender of the gaming industry. I was like, I can work with that. Like,
take it.
Yeah. Like, if I would have a set, I would like turn this background into a bar and just like dry glasses and just have interesting guests tell stories.
With a towel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe I'll get a green screen and get like a big bar set up. But I'm just getting my feet wet, so it's sometimes it's a bit intimidating to see people who are so established and are so good at what they do, to measure yourself to that. Because when I had my first episode, I was like, okay, let's see what I got. Okay, 12 views on YouTube. Let's see what kind of fun he has. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not there yet. But I just had to let that go, of course, because you have to start somewhere. But what I wanted you guys to know is like what you do is so inspirational for people like myself, because you turn like the thing you love into like an actual career. And I don't think I'll ever be a career person doing this, but hey man, if I get to sniff the business, that's good enough for me. So I just love picking your brains on that. And goddamn, that Arrival episode, Mikey.
Oh, wait. Here's a funny thing about the Arrival episode, because there's always Easter eggs in episodes, and sometimes they might be Easter eggs for like literally one person, and in this case it's two people, and I'm not even sure they ever saw the episode, but I went to one of the big milestones of Randy and Christy Pitchford, like one of the big anniversaries. They had this big party, or it might have been actually no, it was Christy's birthday. It was one of the big Christy birthdays, and I found out that, because I love those two people to death, I found out that Randy used to sing "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" at when they were like dating, when they were teenagers and stuff. And that, like, for whatever reason, stuck with me, because at this party, like, now they've been married for, like, all these years, Randy sang "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" to Christy. And it was, like, it was incredible. And that stuck with me. And when I was doing the Arrival episode, I needed, like, a thing that would kind of bring it all around at the end. And I used "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" for that reason, because that was the type of love I was feeling for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but it was kind of a little shout out to them, but like nobody ever needed to know that. It's just sort of an interesting thing, because for whatever reason, it's the perfect song for that film. Yeah. And I could never really explain why, other than the fact that, God, Arrival is a tough movie to watch. Like,
oh man,
it punches you in the heart with a Wolverine claw.
Yeah.
When you realize, like, do you love someone enough to watch them die? Do you? Like, that is the biggest, like, hugest thing.
Yeah. I think that movie, like, broke me as a person. And this might sound, like, super overdramatic, but, like, and it's the old sort of, like, you get a child and everything changes for me personally. But there's two movies that had, like, an impact on me. One was Inside Out. Where I was watching it in the movie theater with my wife, and the end just like destroyed me.
Yeah, wrecks me, man.
When she comes back home from the bus and she hugs her parents, And when I was watching it, I felt myself struggle with, I got to keep it together, man, because your wife's right there. And I did that whole thing, like, oh no, I can't let this affect me. And then the second movie was Arrival, and that just pushed me over the edge. Like, I was like streaming down my face in the movie theater, because I watch movies by myself a lot because I travel for work. And I was like, wow, this has never happened to me before. And then just as I thought I was over it, I watched your episode at work on my lunch break. I was like, I'm going to go for a walk because I cannot deal with this right now. So
yeah, but like also when you watch that episode, like know that I was dealing with massive issues about my own mortality at the time. Like, I want to speak truth through film. So yeah, it's interesting what that movie means, but like being able to illustrate it through your own story, I think is more interesting. Like, I don't like film criticism when they're just like, I loved it because it had good explosions, dragged in the middle a little bit. Like, every movie review, if they love the film, they will be like, it does drag in the middle. They could have cut out 10 minutes or so. Like, they're always like an editor or whatever, because they're not thinking about the structure and what it means and what they're doing. Like, nothing ever made me more mad than every single review of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Because every single review of that film is, I would have cut out some of the stuff in the forest. And I'm like, literally the last time we're going to get to spend time with these characters is over these next 2 movies. I will watch you. I would have watched 5 films of them hanging out in the woods because I was not ready to say goodbye to Ron, Hermione, and Harry. And it's such an interesting thing. Like, what if we reviewed film by talking about what they meant and what they do, and like actually talked about art as if it were art instead of just this business that is supposed to entertain us and give us exactly what we want and nothing else. Because who goes to a movie?
I just saw Deathly Hallows Part 2 4 hours ago.
Wow.
What?
4 hours ago.
Nice.
That
It's
is
on
incredible.
HBO. They got all of them on HBO right now. I went inside because I was editing something, and I love to just put something on in the background because I'm just like a media whore. I just need it all. And so I'm just like, I'll just put on something visually interesting, and like I was like, oh, classic. Let's do it. And I'm like, which one? Let's go right to the end. Let's do it. And like my wife is just a Harry Potter nut, so I've read those books over many times and seen the films many times.
She was in a web show where she played someone from Harry Potter in a web show.
She was in a series called Banff Girls where it was like Buffy and Katniss and Hermione, and like they were all forced to live together.
Yep. That was a good show. It's a fun show. Look it up.
I miss it. Yeah, it's a good show. Yeah. Banff Girls.
Well, it's like I could listen to you guys talk forever on this, but I don't want to like drag this out too much. But I do want to just say, like, oh my god, when we talk about the things I love, it's definitely your work. I've been following you guys for like forever, and so now being able to like chat like this is like, oh my god, I can't believe this, but it's good, and I hope that people at home listen, because if I get 0 listeners, I just had a great Friday night, to be honest. But I'll try to wrap it up, because I like to end my shows with my segment that I call Podcast and Chill, where you can promote yourself and do whatever you want. Brendan, I'll start with you. If you have to do some shout outs, and where can we find you?
You can find me, just do a search, Easy Allies. You can find us on twitch.tv, and YouTube is our primary sources of entertainment. Patreon is where you can donate if you would like to. You can also there's lots of fun people on Patreon. You can donate all over the place. Yeah. Just save up $20 and just send $1 bills in multiple directions on Patreon. You make a lot of people happy.
That's pretty much what I do, yeah.
But yeah, that's our group now. And if you want a good podcast, my wife does a podcast called The Complimentary Podcast, CompPod, COMPPOD, on Twitter. Go check it out. It's very fun. It's kind of like this, when you talk about things they love and things that work together.
Yeah, I think I caught one episode, probably because you were on it, Brendan. That's why it got on my radar, and they were talking about earthworms, and they're so nice. It's a lovely show. It's like really feel good. Mike, how about yourself?
Before I say anything, I do need to bloviate about Brandon for a second, because I remember the day that game trailers kind of went away. Because, like, you were the voice of video game reviews to me. I have watched every single review you've ever done, and I was madly depressed when the game trailers thing went away. And then out of nowhere, here comes Easy Allies, and I was like, oh, thank God. Because I honestly didn't know what I was going to do, because I tried every other website, and I was like, it's not the voice of video games. Why isn't it Brandon? And it was such a huge, powerful thing when you came back. So I am so overjoyed that worked out.
Dude, every time I think about you, I think about bumping into you at Comic-Con, and we're walking down the street in San Diego
with Amber Benson.
You were like, do the voice, dude, do the voice. And I'm like, I need a script. I can't just like off the dome just do it, because I sound different when I actually am like, I'm doing, I'm trying to communicate something to you right now. And you were like, I can do Scooter just right now. I'm like, that's not the same. It's a character versus a cadence.
See, you can still do it. Still pull it out. Still in there. Anyway, you can find me.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
No, dude, you like that. The meter of this game does this, and like you're very fair to every game, like, because you watch a lot of people, especially YouTubers, they just dunk on everything, and I'm like, what's good? Do you even like this? Do you even like games? You seem to hate everything that isn't anime, but most of that you also hate. So, but it was a thing I needed. Like, you were the person I needed to tell me about video games, because I can read a lot of people, but like the voice is yours. Like that is the thing that I need to hear. So I wanted to get that out of the way.
Fair enough.
Before I said, check me out at youtube.com/filmjoy. Check out all our great shows, especially Movies of Mikey, because I'm Mikey. It's me. I'm the me.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of movies. I've started in 2018 doing sort of larger things. I sort of dissected like Marvel's whole thing to talk about shared universes and why the Marvel strategy actually worked. I talk about big things. I talked about liking The Last Jedi, and that made a lot of people mad. They're still mad. They're posting mean things right now. It's amazing. It was funny one day on Twitter, because like The Last Jedi, just angry boys, we'll call them. Mm-hmm. Like they were just like, people go after your disease, they go after anything. Like it's madness. I'm like, I'm sorry you didn't like the fantasy movie where wizards bob each other on the head with laser swords. You don't have to go after my parents, dude.
Oh my goodness.
But and they even got mad about this. I tweeted, I told people to just find someone angry in the comments and just write, "I love you." Just so maybe that's the thing they needed, you know? But yeah, check out our stuff. You can check me out on Patreon as well. You should go become patrons of both Easy Allies and Movies of Mikey. I strongly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, if we're talking about it, I am the Hashtagonist, and you can also find me on Patreon with my $31 at the Hashtagonist. And I want to give a super special shout out to one patron that is actually a patron of Easy Allies, Movies with Mikey, and myself, Hunter J. Pearson. He's a great supporter of all of us. So when he heard that this show was happening, I think he damn near lost his mind, because he got all three for the price of one.
That's one, listener. We did it.
That's right. I'm the bartender of the industry. Like, I make this shit happen. But thank you both so much for coming on and shooting the shit with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope for those of you listening, you had a great experience as well. And you can find me at the Hashtagonist on Twitter, and I'll hopefully hear you again next week. Thank you.
I am enjoying the Hashcast.